Hello, noties. Welcome to Tuesday on a very slow news week. Not super busy this week. Lots of news going on. And let's say hi to some noties. I'm going to get into the YouTube chat room right now. Give me one moment. You know, it takes a lot to run the show and put on a performance and talk to everybody. So that's why Molly and I will sometimes split the duties between queuing up the story and then reacting to you noties in the chat room. Yesterday was crazy. When we did their second taping, I think we had 700 people at one point.
800, and I think we peaked at like 820 something.
Wow, 820
current,
people. So there you go.
Wow,
current. Yeah, that's the highest ever.
The video has like 10,000 views right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So people really, I guess, want to talk about breaking news. So it's a good lesson for us producers and associate producers. Associate producers are all the people in the Noti gang or fans of the shows. You're associate producers. We have 3 full-time producers here. But you can produce the show by emailing producers at thisweekinstartups.com with your ideas. Good morning, Molly.
What's up?
How are you doing?
Good. Great.
Green glasses look great. Are those new?
Green glasses. No, I'm just, I just drop them out of the rotation, bring them back.
And matching the overalls, the green overalls.
My free people hipster overalls.
Oh, you have I don't know what Free People is. Is that a brand of overalls?
It's a brand, yeah. It's like a very hipster store, and there was one in Palm Springs, and I was like, I'm gonna drop a ridiculous amount of money on these overalls and an influencer hat.
Is that like vacation? I'm gonna guess those overalls. I'm gonna put the over under on overalls at 300.
Oh my God, no. Have you met me?
I don't see you go over 300, so I was going to take
150. 150.
Oh, that's reasonable.
I know, but I never buy clothes because I do the Rent the Runway subscription. So when I do $150 overall splurge, I'm like, ooh.
Interesting.
Quick time, 1, 2. Yeah, I'm a little bit like. It's funny because my boyfriend thinks I'm a mad spender.
Really?
But
it actually turns out
I'm a little frugal. I'm a little cheap.
If you spent $2,000 a year on Rent the Runway, that would be cheaper than women's clothes.
Much cheaper.
Women's clothes are hilarious because I have 3 daughters, and like you go buy, even for kids, they're doing this. And my wife buys, a t-shirt or jeans or a suit, and it's like, oh yeah, that suit's $2,000, and you can get a men's suit, shout out Indochino or other places for $300, $400, $500, $600. Looks great. And then like women's clothes, they just double. Everything's double. Socks, underwear, everything's double.
It's insane. So pretty much I only I buy the occasional pair of leggings or basics or whatever, and then I get 4 to 5 new outfits every month.
Do they call that the pink premium?
They do call it the pink premium. Like if it's women's shampoo, same ingredients.
It's ridiculous.
30 to 50% more.
Haircuts.
Oh, haircuts! Don't even get me started.
I mean,
that's where I spend all my money.
$200, $300 for a great haircut for women, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, if you go a guy, you go to the barber, they're like $30, $20, $40. I mean, it's so cheap to get your haircut as a man. I give 100% tip because I just say to them, "Listen, whenever I come in, I have this talk with my barbers, and then my daughter's very upset at me because she thinks I'm bribing." Too much, but every barber I've ever had, I say, listen, I'm always in a time crunch. If I ever come in and there's a way for you to say I was on the list ahead of the other people who are online, if you could swing it, that's great for me. I'm going to give you the largest tips of anybody you have as a customer.
Oh my God.
I give them $40, and then I just round it up to 100. I give them the guy $100. Because I'm like, well, women are paying $200 for a haircut. I'm rich, whatever. $60.
You're literally paying $40 for I'm just furious right now. I'm furious.
You can get if you go to a salon, a men's cut at a salon is $60 to $100.
Yeah.
If you go to a barber, which does a better job, and they don't give you a massage and wash your hair and all this other nonsense, which just takes too long, zip, 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 you're in and out.
Yeah.
$30 to $50. Justin and Nick, back me up here. What are you guys paying for? You go to a barber, you go to a stylist? I want a report from each one on camera. Justin, stylist or barber?
I've paid for a haircut in a decade. I've cut my own hair. I paid $15 for a razor set, and I've used that clippers.
Stop
it. Working out for
Let's see this hair because it looks so good. How are you?
I mean,
if you have great hair, Now I know
Nick, haircut ever,
Nick
but
has amazing hair. I know.
But that's straight up Astor Place barber. Give it to us, Nick. How much?
No, actually, shout out my guy Michael, Mark Daniel Barbershop, 10th and Willow, Hoboken. Love that spot.
$40.
I pay it's 50, and then I tip 20, so it's 70 a haircut.
Yeah, so you're giving a 40% tip.
Yeah.
Because
he's my guy. He's amazing, and I go to this. I can basically go whenever I want. And I have an appointment. It's just me for 45 minutes, so we have a good relationship. Yeah. So I feel like I should
take care of your barber is critically important.
Wow.
You know where they get you is the shoes too. You get your shoes resold. I did this with my wife. I brought all my shoes in, my wife's shoes in. My wife's shoes have a smaller footprint, right? It's like a tiny little piece of leather. Mine is giant, like an orc, and she's like this dainty little elf. And they're like, elf shoes, $175 to resell them. And they're like, ogre shoes? Yeah, $40. We'll resell them for you.
Yeah.
It's crazy what they're doing to women.
It's outrageous.
This is, I think,
Yep.
I think now here's a good brand. Here's a good brand. Pink Premium. Somebody make a brand called Pink Premium that says premium of quality, not price gouging. Boom. And it's just everything for women, but at men's prices. Let's go. Somebody start that company.
I feel like something like that exists, but it has a different name. Yeah.
You know what we pay for Hanes underwear? I mean, I don't buy Hanes. I buy Saks, SAXX. So I pay like $30 for a pair of underwear now. I'm ashamed to say, but I just do it because I just like to say.
We all have our stuff. I mean, this is where I'm not going to tell you how much I spend on a cut and color.
No, you don't have to. But I do think that's like another place where people get killed.
Oh, yeah.
But I only buy the Saks just so I can say to David Saks that I'm wearing Saks underwear because they have a special pocket to cradle you.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I'm like, there's nothing like Saks cradling you all day long and keeping you in position.
Kids show.
Kids show.
Oh, right. Sorry. But I mean, that is the value proposition of Saks, by the way. The underwear, not
the guy. Yeah. No, that's great. That's really nice of him. That's great that you have that relationship. It's really
sometimes I just drop my jeans at the poker game and I show my Saks. I'm like, Saks, look, because it says Saks, SAXX, like on the front.
It really does. That is hysterical.
Yeah, right. I'll just.
Lordy.
I won't do it on there.
Oh lordy.
Oh lordy. All right, everybody. 136 watching, 30 thumbs up. Get us to 50 thumbs up. And by the way, for those of you playing along, Rivka, the good stuff, Rivka.
The good stuff, Rivka. Did you try it?
I did not try it. I was going to save my sip.
I really was going to, and then I was like, I can't.
Sacred sip for a Thursday show when we wrap up. We crash. So for anybody, and I think we sent out a couple of bottles of these to fans of the show. Don Julio Primavera, 1942.
I know yours is a different bottle.
I think, this is different than the one in the show. The one in the show is dark. I think Primavera is like even better than.
You probably got Nick is no dummy.
Nick, what's the story here? Did you bump
I promise there was no difference in the ones that I selected for all you, but
it was availability.
Mine's not in the orange
the local
bottle.
Liquor stores had different ones available, so I just got the standard. I think they were like $210 each, basically.
But you have the dark brown bottle with the big lip on top, right? Like it said, my bottle's clear glass.
I have, look, it's a brown bottle.
Looks good.
And it's just a brown.
I'm interested. Is this agave base, right? Is that the whole thing that we're doing here?
Yeah.
And
it's an añejo.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
It's the so tequila comes in 3 flavors. There's a blanco, reposado, and añejo. Okay. And the blanco is like the white, the clear. That's the shit you make margaritas with. Reposado is like next level after that, or maybe añejo I think is the next level after that, and it's just a little darker and richer, and it's got more like vanilla. And then a reposado is even more of like a brown tequila yumminess. And that, I mean, I did not know growing up for years. Like I only discovered in the last like 10 years or something that tequila is for sipping. And now it's like my jam. Love it.
Oh, you like to sip it. And when it gives you notes of honey or something like that. Is that the idea?
Some honey, some vanilla. Some of it's a little smoky, like mezcal is super smoky, but like regular.
I've had the mezcal.
That's not my favorite. But the añejo is the next. So I had the order wrong. It's like Blanco, reposado, añejo, and it's like old.
I
And this
have
is
to
what that
say,
is.
I have been enjoying Mexican food more and more. I
Come to
really
Oakland.
like. I mean, I really like a hard shell taco.
Yeah.
I realize I've been doing the soft shells a lot, but there's something about a crunchy taco, with like from like a Topo Chico. This is why I think I'll do good in Austin if I move to Austin. I could get into some like tacos, just meeting people for tacos. I'm thinking about starting the office over again and having an in-office culture, but in Austin.
I see this. I see. I
Mm.
see.
Would you ever consider Austin or no? You got a kid who's in high school, so.
I do have a kid who's in high school, so there's that. I have some friends who lived in Austin for a long time. One of them's still there. I mean, here's the thing that you need to understand about Austin. It is like hotter than
Yes,
blazes.
in the summer.
Like the weather is horrible. If you have allergies, those allergies will be 1 to 10 trillion times worse than they are here.
I don't. I've heard about
The
this.
weather thing is real.
Yeah, so I heard what people do is they decamp for the summer, and you just like do your summers in Aspen as one does, or you do something like that.
I mean,
from what I understand.
Austin is a great. Like I was thrilled when my friends lived there. I visited them a lot. I've seen the bats a million times. I got all my favorite places to go. Like Austin's lovely. I like the Bay Area. Like I like my natural.
I love the Bay.
Anything could happen in 3 years.
Yes.
But come with me and do a tour of the 880 corridor and international, and we will have the best Mexican food you can ever imagine.
I'll come over for Mexican.
It's like going to Mexico.
Overdue. The 880 is like that's the highway there. On the
like by the Coliseum. There are all these. There's actually like an article in the Mercury News today about it. If you want the best Mexican, it's like tents along 880 by the Coliseum.
They set up tents there.
They're not even storefronts. They're just like
pop-ups. That's interesting.
Some of them are storefronts and some are trucks and stuff, but like it's just like,
and so people literally just get off the 880 and they just drive in and grab a bite to eat.
Tacos galore. Amazing. Tacos and Mexicokes.
They really killed that Coliseum, huh? When the Warriors left, that whole area I heard is dead now. And
yeah, apparently the A's field has been taken over by feral cats. True story. Really? And they're like, we can't really get rid of them, so we're just going to let them stay.
Where are the A's moved as well?
They're still playing there. No.
Oh,
presumably
there's just cats everywhere.
Have run away, but then when they're not playing, there's just cats all over the field.
Oh my Lord!
So they're going to round it. Oakland is a flightless bird. It's just, it's a wonderful city. It's so close to reaching its potential.
All right. So we have a lot of news going on here today. I don't even know where to begin with, but we do need to get started.
I am recording 10 minutes.
I am recording. I'm 12:45. I got here a minute or two before. Molly is on fire today. I got up early. Got a great night's sleep.
I know. I love it.
You saw me in producer chat doing my mentoring.
I saw you in producer chat doing your mentoring.
I
had one.
We must do a better job.
When you were like, we got to be interacting and sharing stories. And I was like, where are you at 7 a.m. when I'm doing that with
waking up?
I'm all scrolling. I
have 2 6-year-olds jumping on my head and a bulldog who's kept me up all night.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, Max. No, I mean, Fondue passed away.
No, I know. But even Max is so funny.
Even Max now is becoming a snuggle bunny. And but he likes to wake up at 6:37 to chase squirrels. And of course, he thinks I want to too.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar. Like, hey, buddy, wake up. It's time. And I'm like, it's time for me to get another half hour.
But
okay.
No. Mine, I have gotten to leave me alone by, this is horrible. I close the door at night. They're not allowed to sleep with me. But in the morning, they like stand up and push the door open and come in and are like, but I just let them get under the covers and then they'll go back to sleep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, they are pack animals. So I've always slept with my bulldogs. It's probably going to take years off my life that I sleep on a bulldog schedule. But I can't sleep without a bulldog.
I know. My brother thinks I'm like the worst person ever. I'm like, when one dog, I don't know.
I understand sleep is sacred.
Sleep is sacred. I'm like a sleep achiever too. Like I am not.
What do you get? Are you like 8 hours?
I'm 8 hours minimum.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I can't sleep more than 7
minimum.
hours. I'm up to 1 or 2 every night. I get up at 7 or 8. I just can't do more than 6 or 7. My mind is like racing at night. It's racing in the morning. I get up. I'm just like C3PO. I'm like, oh, I can fix your binary lifters. Actually,
It is a curse. Like it is a curse to have that much of an active. Like I just sleep an insane amount and then basically just do 10 trillion things in a day. Never sit. Or rest.
Oh, AC
like
did
9:30. It's like,
It looooks like 8 Sleep did a massive round. Oh,
Really?
yum.
I gotta get one of those.
Oh,
8sleep.com/twist.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Oh yeah, and thanks. You read a couple of ads. I heard you were reading a couple little ads here. That's nice.
I didn't read theirs. I just every time I hear it, I wite it down because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get one of those.
What was the policy at NPR? Did you were hosts allowed to read ads or no? Not allowed to. But at New York Times, they're allowed to.
It's becoming more common, and some of the podcasts, the NPR hosts do it. We were like, we might do it for a very large premium, but our sales team wasn't good enough to charge that premium, so I just didn't.
Got it.
But it's now I hear it everywhere. It's actually like really common. But it was kind of like it was a big deal for me to read them. I was like, oh, I've never done this in my whole life.
It was for me too at a time, and then I was like, you know what, YOLO. It's like flattering
content.
People, it's flattering. They want me to read the ad, and it keeps the lights on and makes the show 6 days a week. And I kind of made the decision. Like, people are like, well, then people are like, you're a sellout, and I'm like, they're like, you don't need the money. I'm like, do I not need more money? I kind of feel like more money's better, but than less money. But how do you think you have 9 or 10 people working on a show? Like, it has to make money.
More money pays more people. Like, what is wrong with everyone? It's not like you're just sleeping on your bed of money like Scrooge McDuck, and I hope you are. Frankly, you should be. You earned
retiring is, like, I think that's everybody's existential fear here. It's like, is Jake going to wake up and retire? Like, I keep having Ashley or Jackie are like, are you really going to retire at 50? I'm like, I'm trolling you. I'm retiring at 55.
Don't say it. What would you do? It'd be terrible. That'd be terrible.
I mean, I decided, I had this conversation with everyone on the team. Listen, I decided I'm going to do a couple of things for myself, which I had never done my whole life. I basically worked my ass off till I was 50 or maybe 45. And then at some point I was like, maybe take a vacation for 2 weeks in the summer. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to Europe for 3 weeks every summer. I'm going to get the ski house. I'm going to try to ski 30. Well, actually my goal was 20 days. So I doubled it. And I just said, listen, again, instead of retiring, why not make some lifestyle adjustments? Pick 2 things a year, 3 things a year I want to do, and just lock them into the calendar. I never did that my whole life.
Yeah.
I was like, I never planned a vacation my whole life. I was like, what was I doing? I never really
You hear all these horrible stories about somebody who just like dies of a heart attack when they're waiting, like in 3 years, I'm going to chill, and then they die. It's like, no, just chill.
I think there
or play,
like whatever your jam is,
right?
Just make sure you schedule it. That's my best advice. Schedule some things for yourself that you actually really find engaging. It's my best advice. Right? That doesn't mean you don't have to work hard. You can still work hard. I'm just like, I want to do some activity on some regular cadence. That's all. Just some, and that just requires thoughtfulness about your schedule. I find if people are looking, it won't happen. Otherwise, it won't manifest itself. Will happen. So you got to just do that. It's working for me.
For you, it is working for you. It's great.
I feel more fit and I feel more focused. And I'm actually, I won't say I'm getting more done, but I'm getting the same amount done.
Yeah.
I think at a higher level, if that makes sense. Like I'm making more efficient decisions.
Multitasking is a lie. Like, let's be really clear. Multitasking is a lie. And that's why I think like they always say, like when you become a parent, you become a better worker because you start to understand how to like efficiently move through the world. Like I use every minute.
Yeah, you're like waiting for pickup and you're like writing a deal memo.
Totally.
Clearing those emails out.
And when people waste my minutes, I am pissed.
Yeah, that
I'm like, what do you have? Nothing but time? I haven't even peed in 3 days. Like, get out.
I mean, being ruthless about it is, I think, critically important. Like, what can you take off of your plate? And so I have been having great success with the service Magic. Which I used like 5 years ago. Are you in the Magic Slack? I'm going to give them a free ad right now. Are you in the Magic Slack room that we created?
That we created. No.
So I had, what was the, I had an investment in a company called Zirtual that blew up famously. Tony Shea, rest in peace, was an investor as well. And it was a really cool company. They would do this like $25 an hour, $20 an hour, I think at the time, virtual EAs, virtual executive assistants. And then they had this EA for groups where you'd hire an EA, they would put them in a chat room with you and your whole team could use them, like a group EA, which we kind of have here, right? We have a group of operations people that we can offload operational stuff to and have them like codify it, formalize it, and make it run better. What Magic does is they've trained people for like $10 an hour offshore. Then there's like a $15 an hour tier that are a little more sophisticated. I think it's Philippines mainly, but it could be some US. And actually you were just added to it. So if you want to do a research, as an example, I researched at some point Anyway, I've researched a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
They will do research for you. It's pretty amazing how good they are at it. Or actually, I tell you what we did it for. We were looking for party planners in LA. I'm sorry, in Miami for the All In Summit. And we just had them organize them, find them, put their rates, put their experience, links to their things, and make a Google sheet of everyone. Then set up preliminary calls with our team and schedule them, talk to them, tell them what the spec was for the event. We're going to have 400 people, 3 to 4 hours for each party, within a 15-minute Uber of this location. Then we did the same thing for locations in Miami, find every single location. So basically our team started with the research done.
Yeah.
So imagine you're looking at a Google sheet of every location and what it costs and the capacity. And you're like, okay, JCal told us we need to have enough indoor for this. Okay, that eliminates these 3 locations. Okay, is this? And then call them and find out if these dates are available. Okay, now call them and put them on hold. It was really effective. So for research kind of stuff, which I've used Fiverr for as well. Shout out to Fiverr, one of our sponsors. And Fiverr is really good for graphic design and other stuff. We've used them for that. So anyway.
What I really want to know is if they do laundry. Do they do laundry? No, I'm just kidding.
Actually,
we have a meeting actually. Like I think Presh, one of our team is meeting with a company that is basically just like a life assistant kind of website marketplace. I'm like, that's what I need. Yeah. Also to the guy who wants us to get on with it, Peanut. This is the show. This is the
show. Speaking of efficiency.
Are you familiar with
28 people watching?
With Twitch, you do whatever the hell you want.
Let's get to 100 thumbs up. And we'll send somebody, what do we send somebody today? A Contigo. By the way, do you have Contigos?
Yeah.
You have these,
those right? I've got one of those. The water bottle thing. I don't like it gets so slimy on the top.
And then look.
Jeez, you're freaking me out. You're freaking me out.
Over my keyboard.
Oh my God. That's unacceptable.
I give this to my girls on the long rides to Tahoe or whatever, or LA. And they can't spill. And you have a little button here you press. But look, I'm pressing the button here because it's in my bag. It's in my backpack, upside down. I'm pressing the button. It's not working because I have the lock on. Then I unlock it, press the button.
Got your cold brew in there? I forgot to make cold brew again last night.
8. You can make like a half
gallon.
I
only have 2 more episodes of Severance left, by the way. I don't know where you are in the Severance journey, but
maybe I'm 1 or 2. Yeah, I'm gonna get it done in the next 2 days. It's a little intense, is it not?
Yeah,
it's a little intense.
I can only. We watched 2 last night, and I was like, I don't know if I can keep going. Like I want to, but I need to let it go.
All right, let's do the show now. We got a lot of reactions. We got to do the reaction.
We're just stalling because we don't want to talk about this again today.
I think we're kind of in the end game now. I think we're in the end game.
I'm excited to talk about
the interesting thing is
fun parts today.
Kind of difference. Like Casey Newton's piece was great because he I think what he said, it's in the notes too, but he basically was like, as a whole, Twitter employees were like very negative and freaking out, basically kind of like the same, like that was actually on Twitter itself. And then he said, but when I talked to everybody individually, one-on-one, they were kind of like, it might be kind of cool actually if we get rid of all the bots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so many thoughts. I did some lecturing of my blue pill friends on this topic.
They're gonna hate you for being.
Someday I'm gonna write a book that's like, I just wanted to be a climate tech investor, and I found myself at the white hot center of the culture wars.
Oh, God, the culture wars are so. I'm just opting out of them now because I need to get out of the culture wars because
your show is the dwarf star of the culture wars.
I mean, I'm just now like Arlen Hamilton's coming at me. You're not standing up to Sachs enough. I'm like, Arlen, I'm not. They're Cinderella-ing me. You created a new term. I am being Cinderella.
You really are being Cinderella. I know.
And I'm just like, I'm not interested in being Cinderella. Sorry. Like, if you got a problem with Sachs's conspiracy theories on, whatever, please, by all means, talk to Sachs about it. It's not me. That's not my responsibility. Period. Full stop.
I could not agree more. I'm just like, call him up and start a show with him.
I'm not. Justin. Jesus fucking Christ. Stop with the platforming. Okay.
He's like, I have the lingo.
It's a goddamn podcast. Molly's not platforming me. I'm not platforming Molly. We're all fucking Americans. We're all talking about
platforming him.
Problems in society. Everybody fucking relax. Go have some ramen. go get some burritos and shut the fuck up already, okay? We can all disagree about stuff. You could be Jewish, I could be Christian, you could be an atheist, you could be agnostic. I don't give a fuck if you're a Scientologist, okay? Do what you want in your personal life, and we could all have a burrito, all right? I'm not kicking you out of my poker game because you're left, right, Jewish, Christian, agnostic, atheist, or Scientologist, okay? I got all those people in my life, all right? Enough. Everybody's so damn divisive. I'm using fancy words now. I'm going to say divisive, so I'm fancy.
Divisive, I like it. Mm-hmm.
Too divisive.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Can both of you just give me a ruling on, because Sachs has been going nuts on Twitter the past couple of days.
He's losing his mind.
He has
losing his mind. Oh, God. And then the All-In Summit.
Dramatic. Is this tweet a little dramatic from Sachs?
Here we go. I'll judge it.
All right, now I got to look. Hold on.
Oh, God. Yeah, the Berlin Wall did not come down.
Sachs,
please, Sachs. No. No, David. It's not the Berlin Wall. It's not the Berlin Wall. It's a social network. It's one
also
of 20.
not. Oh,
relax, everyone. Please, for the love of sweet Jesus, please.
Like, you're relaxing and trying to have a conversation, but he's radicalizing every minute.
It is like he's just.
What's his other news source? All right, now I don't want to Cinderella you because that's not
Tucker.
Right.
He's he wants me to go on Megyn Kelly with him. I'm like, is Megyn? I thought Megyn Kelly's deplatformed. Is she? Nobody likes Megyn. She's like on. She's a YouTuber. Is she on
Rumble?
I'm like, Megyn Kelly. I mean, is Megyn Kelly relevant? I think we have more viewers than Megyn Kelly. Like, do I need to go on Megyn? Maybe I'll go on Megyn Kelly just to troll her. All right,
here's the thing, man. You get a lot of attention when you radicalize. You get a lot of positive feedback when you radicalize. I can see that the incentives are strong.
You know what? I've never been left or right. I've always been a moderate, and some people say libertarian. I don't know what these definitions mean anymore. No. Because I used to work for Amnesty International and the ACLU, and I used to donate to the ACLU. And I was raised to think about personal responsibility, freedom, and that was supposed to be the left. So I guess I was in the left, but now, like, the ACLU, I understand now won't protect like really gnarly speech anymore. They've moved more towards a different thing. I don't know where I live anymore.
I know.
Tell me my address. I don't know.
Tell me my address.
Where do I live? I'm like an old man with Alzheimer's walking around the neighborhood saying, I don't know where I belong.
Well, we're all on like 123 Help Me Street at this point.
I don't know where I belong. Like, you know,
I don't either. I'm telling you, man.
Tell me where I live.
I'm keeping an audio journal of this daily because it's such a like great reset. Anyway, it's a very weird.
You know what it feels like? It feels like we put all the positions into a bowl, shook it up, and then people randomly drew their belief systems and then said, okay, now I'm for this, now I'm for that. Like, when did the right become the guardians of the people? Of like lower income, middle class people. When did they start?
What now?
Well, no, they seem to be
not happening.
Well,
they're trying to. That's actually true.
And I think they're having some success with it.
Right, I mean, non-college educated white people, which is not,
and people of color too. There, I mean, a lot of
there folks, is like the Latino.
The Latinos are like
from the
moving
Democratic
over
Party.
there from the Democrat Party. I'm like, how did we lose them? And they're just like, well, we kind of don't believe in whatever
Democrats
that is.
Didn't do any of the things they said they were going to do for this population because they hate poor people. So there's that too.
I just want to talk. This is why I retreated to hanging out with builders. Because this professional talking class and outrage class on both sides and political class, they're not fun to hang out with. You know who's fun to hang out with? Artists, scientists, founders, capital allocators, and virtuosos. Those are the people I like to hang out with. 5 groups of people. Yeah. They're just more fun.
I know.
And because they make something in the world. And then everybody else complaining and whining and just shut the frick up. Let's get back to work building something. I don't know. I'm creating my own party, which is the builder party. I just only want to hang out with people building shit in the world. If you're not building something and you can't express your worldview through producing something in the world, then please stay in the bleachers, and enjoy the cheap beer. Yeah. But, let the people on the playing field play the game.
I mean, as important as I think journalism is, like that's literally what I came here to do. Just get boots on the ground and try to actually affect change. Like I don't have time to change minds. Minds don't get changed.
That's what we've learned right now. It's like, there was a time when like journalism was a little more serious about what it was doing and thoughtful, and it did play a role. Both of us were drawn to that, and now it feels like they're caught up. It feels like journalists are like a political party unto themselves, right? Like they've just now
they're a political class. Like what we forget is that what we really have is we have like economic stratification of the type we have not seen since the Gilded Age and the last Civil War.
Yeah.
Like it's just elites. And if you think that journalism is not a part of the elite class, like, did you see the new appointment of the executive editor at the New York Times?
I did not.
Oh my God.
Who did they pick?
The New Yorker wrote this like 10,000. I mean, just the guy who's like the number 2, who literally is like the most inside man. And they described him in the New Yorker magazine as a fabulously wealthy Bostonian.
Great.
Like,
a real man of the people.
He'll be in touch with what's happening in America.
But he's on the Cape.
Great plan.
He's in the vineyard. He's on the rock. But he might fly back.
Do you remember
for a week in August?
Do you remember like decades ago that photo of Gavin Newsom and the one who's now the Trump girlfriend?
Yes. What is her name?
What is her name? Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Yes, and they're laying.
They're laying on the floor in this mansion.
Yes.
And I keep that on my phone. And every time somebody's like, I love Gavin, I'll never forget. Like, oh yeah, I just have it like ready to go. But there is a portrait of this new New York Times executive editor that's almost exactly like that.
It's
like
so
scroll
weird.
down to this crazy photo.
No.
Keep scrolling. No. It's like toward the bottom.
Cheesecake?
Yeah.
I think they call that a cheesecake shot.
Keep going. It's unbelievable. You're not going to believe it. It's absolutely astonishing. There it is.
What?
This is our new New York Times executive editor.
Wait, I think that's Uncut Gems. I think that's Julia.
And there it is. Yes. Producers killing it. No shoes.
Wow. Producers hitting it now. Don't give them too much praise.
And then this.
Praise them
never
for
forget,
the future
people.
Company.
Never forget. In the Getty Mansion, according to the
Wait. Who's in the Getty Mansion?
This Gavin and Kimberly photo.
Wait, Gavin's wearing shoes.
Gavin's wearing shoes. The new executive editor of the New York Times is not wearing shoes.
What do they call that sweater with no sleeves? That's like a very 90s.
Rachel, sock picks for free in this economy? Nice.
Wait a second.
Rachel's got the one-liner. She is hilarious. Have you followed Rachel on Twitter? Her tweets are hysterical.
I think maybe I may have to have a New York Times discussion with Rachel. Less tweeting, more producing the show. She's putting a lot of effort into those.
She schedules them. She does them at like 4 a.m. and schedules them all day long.
I may have to have a little sit with Rachel.
I mean,
here.
Look at that freaking photo.
They're all scheduled. Nice try. Those are workshopped. Each one of those tweets has taken 3-4 minutes, and there's 10 of them a day. I want those 30 minutes back.
I mean, this is why I've called this man Bruce Wayne for the whole time I've lived here.
I gotta say, he looks great. I can't hate.
Great hair. He's got great hair. But
well, because Nick is like,
he'll take any position that gets him 10 votes. The dude will take any position that gets. I mean, he's a hypocrite.
He looks great now too. He's handsome as hell.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I don't want to go back to the wars over lockdowns, but when these folks were like,
"Oh my God, we're all doing it. We're doing
it." But I just the fact that they were throwing parties indoors with no masks and then shutting down people's like small businesses. I just felt like that was like mind-blowingly stupid and bad judgment. Like he could have had his birthday party or whatever fucking party they were doing outside. Because to put the table outside, we need to set an example here. I'm not putting any scientific judgment on it, but if you are going to go out and tell these small businesses that they're shut down and then go to like a Michelin star restaurant, I just think it's like the optics are so bad that it shows terrible character and judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a sense of entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've always prided myself on being a man of the people.
You almost
David Sachs says, I'm not a man of the
laugh.
people.
You were like, I think you're a little bit more of a populist. And I mean that in a positive way. Like,
yeah.
But it is.
David Sachs says, I
problem.
don't pretend to be a man of the people, but I am a man for the people.
Yeah,
that's what Sachs says, which is from Gladiator, which is a great line.
Exactly. I know. I'm like,
I am a man of the people.
Awesome and terrifying.
And I live it. I live it. I literally will, like I fly coach. I mean, I know people find
We'll
this hard
go
to
out
believe.
to the riffraff.
I do fly coach. I fly regular. Sometimes I fly business class. I'm not gonna lie, but I fly coach. I could have a plane. I don't have a plane. I try to keep myself level headed.
Yep.
And in the game.
Yep.
That's it. I don't try to. I like a nice ticket to a basketball game. Yes, but I just try to be normal. This is what I tell my rich friends. Stay normal. My best advice. Stay normal. Be normal.
Pretty hard. It's a pretty hard thing to do.
It's actually not. It actually is not. What happens is people just, what is this? Is that Adam Newman?
What is with this mullet? Can you make that bigger? I need to see the hairdo.
I forgot my mullet. I was going to go for mullet. I received $2 billion in spendable American currency. You received new cup of water, terrible app, wave pool maker, 2,000 releases of buildings.
And you wonder why people are so pissed off in America right now. There's no accountability, there's no consequences, and elitism is run amok.
I love when they howl in their Maybach on the way to the airport. We got to secure the bag.
Oh,
that's Parag. Parag's leaving the Twitter building going, 39 million.
He really is. He really is. All right, should we consider that our segue? Let's do this.
That is our segue. 3, 2. Hey, everybody, welcome to Tuesday. It's Tuesday after a big Monday. My God, Molly, what are we going to talk about today? What could be in the news today on a Tuesday?
If only there were something to talk about. If only. Okay, here's what happened. The moment everyone was waiting for happened yesterday.
Yes.
What is Jack going to say?
All right, what is Jack going to say?
The deal is done. Was it a conspiracy? Did Jack help make this happen? And then he tweeted his full thoughts on the matter at Jack After Dark, TM Jason Calacanis.
Yes, I love Jack After Dark.
His full thoughts last night in a thread.
Let me hear him.
That started with a link to Radiohead's Everything is in Its Right Place. In case you thought this was not going to go in the totally most unbearably pretentious direction, you were mistaken. Okay. Everything in Its Right Place is how this started.
I like Jack. I like it. He started with a theme. He's setting a mood. It's a mood.
Oh, it's a mood. Radiohead is a mood. And then he goes on to tweet, I love Twitter. Twitter is the closest thing we have to a global consciousness.
Agree. I agree with that statement. Agree with that statement.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess, okay.
I mean, everybody important
in the world. 300 million people.
Yes, and it's a global. I mean, this is like Jack After Dark. I like it. I'm here for it.
The idea
I did have 5 milligram edible before we started the show, but I'm here.
There you go. He's feeling it. He's feeling it. The idea and service is all that matters to me, and I will do whatever it takes to protect both. Twitter as a company has always been my sole issue and my biggest regret.
Okay, honest.
Has been owned by Wall Street and the ad model. Taking it back from Wall Street is the correct first step. So, confirming effectively everything that you and we have said about the problems with trying to operate Twitter as a public company.
I love Jack. When Jack was starting that company, I was at the Allen and Company conference, and I said, if you ever need a board member, I think this is going to be the biggest thing ever. We were just going for a walk, between conferences or whatever. And this is the Allen Company, smaller conference, which they're pretty discreet about. Which was for up and comers, not the big one. And I was like, if you ever need this is when they were just hatching the idea, so to speak. But I do think he's right that Wall Street for this company has been very difficult. And the reason is the public comp of Facebook and trying to keep up with that was like Yahoo trying to keep up with Google. And it makes you do unnatural things when you have shareholders who made a bet on both companies. And they're like, this one is not growing like this one. So how does this one grow like that one? And that just sent them into like Yahoo, a tailspin. Yahoo had a lot of promise. They should have leaned into content and services. They could have been a collection of brands. There was a couple of different ways to go. Yeah. Going all in on video since they lost search would have been a great move. That's what I advocated for. Just go all in on video.
Well, see, that's where yes, go all in on something. I'm not 100% willing to let Jack off the hook for the lack of innovation for a long time. You need to show growth and you need to do this, but there is a lot of space to innovate when you're a CEO, and he had 2 jobs
that was a challenge. And also there was the musical chairs. So you had Ev, Jack, Dick Costello,
Yeah.
Jack, Ev, whatever, or Jack, and
any one of them could have innovated.
Well, and it's hard when you've got when you have public investors saying this is the North Star metric: DAUs, MAUs, daily active users, monthly active users, ad revenue, whatever, and they were just not able to do what Facebook was doing. And so there was never enough time to execute. And this is why sometimes a company that's kind of lost, like they should be private, because it might take 2 years to clean it up. You might have to lay off half the company. You may have to shut down 4 or 5 things that are pretty good, but not great, right? Because you can't boil the ocean, and you need to have one thing that is growing in order to be a public company.
But
look at Tesla.
He maybe could have laid off half of the people at any time. He maybe could have said, we're doing a massive restructuring. Like, I just think
the board would have to approve it. That's the problem.
You, Jason, are never going to have a power struggle at your company because you're in charge of your company.
Yes.
If you have a power struggle at your company, you need to look in the mirror a little bit.
Well, they did set this thing up without founder authority, because there were 2 founders. Biz asked to be a founder, and like they gave him that, but really it was Jack and Ev. I mean, maybe I'll give Biz credit for that. He was there for the beginning. Yeah, I think it's fair to give him credit. But really, Jack created it. Ev created the company. Biz, operated the company with them. So those are 3 co-founders. They didn't have enough ownership each. They lost control of the company. The board got really big, and then you had this Facebook thing. So.
And nobody was a Frank Slootman. Nobody was a Mark Zuckerberg, even a Sheryl.
There was no general.
There was no general. And I just think it is very easy now to sort of lionize everything that Jack has done. But the fact is, like, this happened under his watch. This decay started there.
And also, remember, first-time CEO. Jack was a first-time CEO.
Yeah.
First public company. Like, listen, when this thing was created, we were all kids, 30 years old or something.
I'm not saying I could have done it.
Right.
But I am saying nobody would take my company away from me, and I wouldn't sit there and have another job and let it goof off and then sit here and be like, this was
is the problem.
Never my fault.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it's his fault. He is taking ownership there, isn't he? Like he says, like, this is my big regret. So I mean,
he says
regrets.
This is my big regret, but not like I ever tried this to change it.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what happened to the board. So Twitter as a company has always been my sole issue. Like, I think he's referring to like the company of it, not the product.
Like, it should never have.
And my biggest regret. Well, I mean, he does believe that
the internet
and the ad model is also challenging. I mean,
it's super distorting.
It's super distorting for the New York Times.
Yep.
For CNN, for Fox.
Yeah.
And for Twitter and for Facebook.
Yep.
When you are advertising based and you're trying to grow. If you're advertising based and you're not trying to grow, or you don't care about growth all that much, it's not that big of a deal. It's when you're a public company and you need to grow 30% year over year in your advertising base, unnatural things can occur.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the challenge.
And that specific business model is super distorting. Like, I will 100% give him that. I'm just going to push back on the idea that he was doing everything perfectly. And
I don't think Twitter was far from perfect. I think everybody who ran it could have done better. All 3 potential CEOs probably have a lot of regrets.
Yeah.
And he's sort of saying that. But anyway, let's continue. What else?
So he goes on. Yes, he goes on to say, in principle, I don't believe anyone should own or run Twitter. It wants to be a public good at a protocol level, not a company.
Okay. That is explosive. And a real thought bomb. What he's saying there is like, this should be like HTTP, the web. It should be like SMTP. It should be like RSS.
Right. It should be like URLs, but like or like email.
When I say SMTP, that's email. When I say HTTP, that's the web. And basically RSS is syndication, like blogs and podcasts. So he's right that and in the early days of Twitter, they did support RSS feeds. You could subscribe to Jack's RSS feed.
Yeah.
And they, I believe, deprecated that. And so if it was an open platform and you owned your profile, I own twitter.com/Jason, you own /Mollywood, and they couldn't turn you off, and you could publish to your own location, and then the Twitter client would pull in that data. So if Alex Jones wants to publish his blog and his craziness, it wouldn't be Twitter that would be publishing. He would be publishing his feed somewhere, and then all the feeds would be pulled together like an email client does, whether it's Superhuman, Gmail,
But I mean,
Microsoft Outlook,
that's
or a
literally just,
browser.
I mean, that's just
It's not a business.
It's describing the web. It's describing
Right.
blogs that were aggregated via
Yep.
RSS or by search engines. Weirdly, it's describing Yahoo. Like you sort of, but at some point, that middle layer always becomes a company, which is how it gets distorted, I guess. Anyway, he says, okay, solving for the problem of it being a company, however, Elon is the singular solution. I trust. I trust his mission to extend the light of consciousness.
So, Elon has always said, like, part of like being multiplanetary is like, the light of consciousness. And
this is an Elon phrase.
That is an Elon phrase. The light of consciousness, Elon phrase. And I think also a Sam Harris phrase. And we're all friends and buddies. And I've heard Elon talk for many, many times about, like, we've had long, deep conversations, my friend circle, about what would end humanity if it did end. In pandemic, nuclear war, or mine was always like some random object hitting the earth, because that happened before. It's likely to happen again. I mean, the sun also having like some solar flare. So I've had these conversations with many of my friends over time, Larry and Sergey. I've had this conversation with. It's always been like a 15, 20 years ago conversation that a lot of people like to have, which was, hey, if humanity were to end, what would we do and how would we prevent that? And being on another planet is the ultimate way to back up. And in fact, people don't know this, but the SpaceX project, Elon's first idea was, and the reason he was looking at Russian rocket ships was to back up the biosphere. And I don't know if anybody knows this or if it's in any of the biographies. I've never read any of the unauthorized biographies. But he was thinking about taking every biological thing on the planet, plants, seeds, etc., and then putting them into a space station that would circle the Earth or the moon, or putting them on the moon, some concept like that. And that's when he and Hideo were in Russia looking at missiles and seeing if they could rent one to put this thing up in space. And then that's when Elon was like, wait a second, why don't I just make the rockets myself?
Right.
And
but it was an ARC project originally.
It was I don't know what ARC means, but
it's like Noah's Ark,
Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And there's actually a movie called Silent Running, which somebody will pull up the trailer with, and we'll play a little bit with the sound off so we don't have a strike against us. But that one had like the original R2-D2 in it, Bruce Dern, and it's like, I think it was 73 it came out, and Star Wars came out in 77. So George Lucas kind of cribbed a little bit from this, and they both cribbed it from a French comic book, which had like a lot of these Star Wars themes in it. Which you can look up online. The inspirations for Star Wars came from Silent Running and some other 2001 Space Odyssey, et cetera, that come before it. That was that was just wind closing a door here. In the house.
Good.
So we'll edit that out in post. Okay. So anyway, that's the light of consciousness concept.
Got it.
Here's Silent Running.
I recommend now. I have to see this. My son's in a big like film school phase right now too. So
you'll love this film.
Yeah, this is amazing.
There is the biosphere, Silent Running.
Yeah.
And, there's like, does it remind you of Star Wars a bit?
Yes!
And so there it is. These are, and there's Bruce Dern, who is supposed to maintain this biosphere. And at some point they may show the robot that he, anyway, somebody can pull up the little robot he interacts with, like a picture of it. You'll find it, but it's a really cool movie. It's got a lot of really interesting science fiction ideas.
Amazing. Yeah. Octavia Butler, she's got these books called The Parable of the Sower. It's a trilogy.
Oh, there it is. Look, see that little robot? That's the little robot.
Yeah, that's totally
like it's totally R2-D2. Yeah.
Oh
this
my
little
God.
robot he interacts, he plays cards with, he talks to. It's literally R2-D2 before R2-D2.
She talks about how we have to become a multiplanetary species. Otherwise we will be, and this quote has like rung with me forever, smooth-skinned dinosaurs. Because, yep.
It's a possibility. So anyway,
moving on.
I think, Jack is saying like Elon's a great steward of the brand. I think I think it being private will allow them to clean up a lot of these issues. And, I think that's a good segue into maybe the employees' reaction.
And he says, I will say one last thing I thought was very interesting is that Jack went on to say that Elon and Parag share the same goal of creating a maximally trusted and broadly inclusive platform. And he writes, thank you both for getting the company out of an impossible situation.
Okay, so there's your conspiracy theory, I guess.
We all totally agreed, though, that it was an impossible situation also, yeah.
Huh. Well, if you have a board of directors that owns like, I don't know what the total they owned, but it was like 0.001%. They were like this professional elite class of people stewarding this with no ownership. We talked about that. It's like a weird thing. And then you have all these people who own whatever, 1 to 10% who don't have board seats. It's like, this really isn't representing the shareholder class. It's representing what? Like a bunch of intellectual folks who get a lot of power, joy, whatever non-financial motivations they get out of being on the board. A cynical person would say power. And, a generous person might say, doing what's in the public interest for this platform. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be some combination of those things. Humans are complex. I might want to be on the board of Twitter for the status of it. Sure. We're status seeking animals. It might also be intellectually curious, and you might have, a specific agenda, like you believe in free speech, or you believe in, getting rid of online harassment, or having great conversations, whatever it is, or making political change in the world. You could have multiple things, but it's just not going to result in a great company or product. It's going to result in a company going sideways. So the good news is, during this lost decade, Twitter didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter could have died during this whole thing.
Absolutely.
That was a distinct possibility.
Had it not been, I think, for the Trump presidency and Trump himself, Twitter probably would have. I mean, it was in a pretty moribund
the Trump bump
state.
Was real. Trump bump was very
for
real.
Twitter, without a doubt. And
for the New York Times and MSNBC,
MSNBC,
and for Fox.
Absolutely.
And that was if you look at CNN's, I was trying to find a historical chart of CNN's ratings. When you see their ratings during like impeachment hearings, and that's when Rachel Maddow, Anderson, and Fox but really the left side, because we were also like, oh my God, this presidency is the craziest thing ever.
Yep.
Like, is this guy going to be impeached? Is he, controlled by the Russians? It was just, and he was creating so much chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't help but look, because we've never had a president act insane. There's no other way to say it.
Right.
He was acting insane, and you're like, is this the real world? Because this feels like some side of dystopian sci-fi comedy that the president would act. It was like Idiocracy or something.
It really was. Yeah.
And
it was the biggest story. Lest you think that the media would like things to be boring.
No.
You are dead wrong. There are plenty of people at all of those outfits who are just praying that Trump's account is reinstated on Twitter. Just praying for it.
Yes.
Like, I'm not trying to be painfully cynical on a Tuesday, but like,
well, he was entertaining on the platform.
You can't radicalize an opposition to nothing. You got to have something on the other side, or else it's just not a fun
I've
game.
heard many people on the left say it would be really great if Trump got reinstated right now, because it would enhance turnout for this midterm election.
Could be.
And they're saying Democrats aren't going to come out, because that's always how it is. When you win, you get complacent. When you lose, you get charged up. And that the right, and listen, I'm no expert on this, but that does seem to trend correct. If Trump was here acting crazy, you'd be like, oh my God, I don't want that guy back. I better vote. Yep. If you're anti-Trump. So that does make sense. It is directionally correct. But let's go to the employees.
Let's do that.
Let's go to the employees, because I'll give the caveat here that there are 8,000 employees and thousands of contractors, I believe. So I think the actual real number of people working on Twitter is over 10,000. So if you were to sample them, you could, depending on how you dip your bucket into that sample, it could go either way, because there's a lot of different feelings here. But what was the best representation that we found here on the pod for how employees are feeling?
So
with that obvious disclaimer that
with that obvious disclaimer,
these can be shaped, just like Glassdoor can be shaped, Wikipedia can be shaped, the press could shape, how this looks based on who they talk to.
Exactly. It initially it did seem like it was one giant freak out over at Twitter and on Twitter, by the way. I mean, the number of people just declaring that they had to leave now and like giving tearful goodbyes and mourning their time on the platform was just a little
You're
bit.
talking about users or employees?
I'm talking about users now, and then I think some of them were employees too. So, one New York Times reporter, Talman Joseph Smith, his thread went viral because he said it is absolutely insane at Twitter right now in the virtual valves of private Slack rooms and employee group texts. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I really don't want to work for a company that's owned by Elon Musk. One other source said, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Oh my God. Ugh, I hate him. Why does he even want this? And then platformer Casey Newton wrote in a more sort of balanced approach that yes, as a group, Twitter employees did seem to be negative about the acquisition. But when he started talking to employees one-on-one, he would find that responses were, quote, more tempered. He wrote, some employees I've spoken with are open to the idea that a private Twitter run by Musk stands a better chance of improving the service than would a public company beholden to its shareholders. They like the fact that he wants to eliminate harmful bots and bring more clarity to how recommendation algorithms work. Almost as though, in fact, these Twitter employees are acting just like, everybody else, like people.
Yeah.
Like,
so my read on this would be if you are, if you are publicly, now again, this was a New York Times person, quoting Slack stuff, you're going to have a range of people who are going to be inspired by the change here. And you're also going to have change is scary. And this is a change. It's a big change because they have stock options. And so if you, just to have empathy here for the person who's been working there for 3 years, they've vested 75% of their shares. They have a strike price of $47. Okay, do I get my shares? Do I get $54? Do I keep my shares? And then we're going to go public again in 4 years and I have to wait another 5 years? Are these RSUs? My understanding is people were calling Charles Schwab, I read in one story, and just trying to get some clarity. So when it's your kids, college tuition or inheritance or your mortgage payments, this is going to be scary for some people. Also, it's their livelihood. Also, they're vested.
Also, Elon did, as our producers note, make kind of a joke about firing everybody.
Yes, and I think the very difficult thing they were talking about with whoever would take over Twitter during numerous times when they were looking for new leadership, the question was who is going to be willing to make cuts, because the company could run with probably 2,000 people, like 75% less people, and almost universally, when you make deep cuts like this, the organization functions better. Because who do you cut? Well, the truth is, when these cuts happen, and people won't say this publicly because they want to be gracious about it, you cut the weakest people in the organization. You obviously wouldn't cut the high performers. So you go to the managers and you're like, you've got a team of 10. You get to keep 6. Which 4 are you cutting? And so like a basketball team, you'd be like, well, Steph Curry stays, Draymond stays, Clay stays. We know those 3 are safe. Okay. Now who's in between?
But I guarantee your bench is not Wiggins and Gary Payton, it's not.
You're going to have to make hard decisions.
Your bench is probably not that good, or you're going to have to make hard decisions.
It could be developing players. They could just not be as great and mature as the players who are at the top, right?
Maybe they're fine. Yeah, we have no idea.
We have no idea.
And we don't know that they failed to tackle these problems. We only know the incentives probably told them not to. Like maybe there are plenty of engineers there who are totally capable of turning off the spam.
There was probably some hand-wringing and lack of leadership as to what the goal is. That will be gone in a private company.
Yeah.
Because the private company, when it's owned by one person, you have founder authority. And just like Steve Jobs said, you know what? We're going with the phone first, then we're doing the tablet. And his team had said, well, the tablet's what, works. And look how beautiful it is. He's like, it's not responsive enough. Let's iterate a couple of times on the batteries and the touch screen on a smaller screen, and then we'll get to the tablet later. They're like, oh, Bill Gates has got a tablet out now. We should compete. It's like, nope, we're going to go after the phone. You have to make some bold decisions, right?
Absolutely.
And this is Cybertruck's a bold decision. Cybertruck also has, I don't know what the reservations are now for Cybertruck, but it was bonkers how many Cybertruck reservations there were. And the Cybertruck does not look like a pickup truck. They didn't go the Rivian route and they're like, let's make something that looks like a F-150. That's founder authority. You cannot make a bold choice like that in a committee with a board that owns 0.001% collectively. That's a decision that the God Queen or God King can make.
Yep.
They can say, you know what? We're going to go for it. We're going to do something crazy here. Again, I don't know what the reservations are for Rivian versus Cybertruck right now, but maybe somebody in the chat room or a producer could tackle that for me. But I think that like kind of shows what founder authority can do, because that odd looking truck is inspired people, probably most of which are buying their first truck, to jump on board. And they didn't go after just the truck owners. They went after, hey, maybe you own, you know, I don't know, an SUV, and you want this rad Cybertruck that looks like nothing else on the road.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know that you get a Ford F-150 Lightning without Cybertruck. Like the existence itself spurs change. So once you make this big, bold bet, you cause a whole cascade of change as a result of it. Some interesting breaking news that our producers just popped actually into the Twitter related to these employees, into the Slack, related to Twitter employees. Twitter has locked down any changes to the platform. Now, this isn't unusual. Of course, you would freeze like product, probably like rollouts in advance of a new owner. However, they will not allow any product updates unless they're business critical. And evidently, according to these anonymous sources talking to Bloomberg, Twitter imposed the temporary ban to keep employees who may be miffed about the deal from, quote, going rogue.
Oh, that's fascinating. I could see somebody doing that. If you did that as an employee, you would be responsible legally, financially, and career-wise. That I'm just, for the record, like probably not a great idea. Like Chelsea Manning, you know, did something like with as a conscientious objector in terms of leaking stuff and paid a massive price. Her freedom. I think she goes by her now, not they. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I don't have the pronouns.
I think so. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure she's a she, not a they. But somebody can correct me apologize if I'm not up to date on it. But she was a he at the time. She made a really serious decision to leak that information and went to jail for close to a decade. And like, if you're thinking about doing this, think about the ramifications of going to jail. Don't do it.
Could you imagine somebody at Twitter God.
People have done this kind of stuff before.
I know, totally.
And, you know, like, and it could wind up ruining your life.
Yeah.
Like literally your freedom could be at stake.
I mean, it's almost for their own protection that they
I mean, the obvious thing to do would be to turn off Elon's account or something. You know, like, but I mean, this kind of childishness is cybercrime. And I'll tell you something, the three-letter agencies they got a real chip on their shoulder about cyber stuff. And they've made the point over and over again, rest in peace, Aaron Swartz being the ultimate example of it. You know, they will take it to the mat to a level that is, you know, some people might consider deranged when cybercrime occurs. You know, and people who burn a building down may get 5 years in jail, and people who, you know, do cybercrime, they'll look at it and say, well, the building would cost $5 million, but the harm here was $50 million. So it should be 10 times as much. So people feel like digital crime is, the thinking is like something you could roll back easily, and digital crime is not that big of a deal. It turns out the feds actually, they take it more seriously, it seems, on all accounts. So please don't do something like that for your own. That would be a really dumb thing to do.
That would be a really dumb thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to me. I mean, I feel like you never know what to think about this kind of reporting. Like on the one hand, it would be 100%, I would think, standard operating procedure to lock the platform.
Sure, of course.
When a new owner is coming in, that doesn't even sound that like weird, but you do. But then
it's a great clickbaiting story. Let's be honest.
It's a great clickbaiting quote. Like nobody's going to go rogue. Come on.
Yes. I mean, they're almost incentivizing people to go rogue by being like, hey, here's what you could do.
Like give them the idea. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little inception here. Like, and we're here to unwind that for you.
Yeah.
Young people, don't ever do something stupid like this. If you want to do something stupid, like get your friends to bring a mariachi band and like storm out of the building playing, like having a marching band, I Quit, and then march out with the marching band. Like those people are doing on TikTok. So it's like stunt resignations.
Yep.
Now, I
Yeah.
don't know if I
Yeah.
would hire somebody who did a stunt resignation. I might do it just for the LOLs.
Depends.
Depends. If you're in marketing, I might actually I might actually appreciate if you're in the
Not like the
marketing
worst.
department doing a gorilla stunt. I mean, it would depend on the circumstance. If your boss was a true jerk,
I know,
and you went out with a marching band, respect. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
You know how
respect.
you got a brand now. You got a brand.
Yeah, maybe.
Before we move on to other fun tech
Yes.
stories, I mean, we'll all get our last thoughts in, but I did think to myself watching the Sturm and Drang and everybody freaking out and all the, the rending of the faces, and I'm going to Canada. Exactly. That it was like, okay, we're all on this platform and it sucks. It makes us feel bad every day.
Yes.
It is not functional. It does not offer the features that we wanted to offer.
Continue.
It has only gotten worse in terms of spreading and peddling disinformation and sadness and division.
Amen. Continue.
Don't you want to maybe see if the guy can make it better before you lose your ever-loving shit and stomp off Jesus. Like a child?
I'm putting my hands up. Praise Jesus. Like here is a rational assessment of the situation. The system has been broken for a decade. It hasn't gotten better. We all hate certain aspects of it. Okay, the guy's coming in. He's executed well. He's got a vision. He's been pretty clear and upfront about what it is. Give him a shot. If you don't like it,
chance.
we could all just go over to Instagram. We could all go over back to blogging. We could go to Facebook. We can go to LinkedIn. There's a million places we can go. Is it the same? No, it's nuanced, different. But that if Elon were to do and the new management or the existing management, whatever, the reconstructed team, however it gets reconstructed, I have no insight there, were to do something crazy with the platform, well, that would just be an opportunity for somebody to create an alternative.
Exactly.
Just like TikTok created an alternative to Instagram and YouTube created an alternative to, blogging and other things that came before it and other video services that came before it. So
100% optional to be there. And it would be hard to make it worse. So maybe just chill out and see what happens.
And I just want to shout out Rachel. I don't want to hear any stunt resignations on OK Boomer on Friday. Okay. I'm not incepting like I want Rachel to go do a stunt.
Rachel's typing. She's like, typing. Oh, I have a plan.
Oh, I got my stunt resignation queued. Ordering a band off Magic. Fiverr.com for get your band. Use the promo code TWIST.
Oh my God.
All right.
Amazing.
Listen, I love this story. I think this is a Rachel story.
Oh, this is a Molly story.
This is a Molly story.
I got obsessed with this in the morning when I was looking for any other news.
Yes.
And I'm absolutely but shout out to the team for making this into an incredible story. Look at all this write-up.
Okay, so but let me just say for the employees over at Twitter, great opportunity. Yeah. I have met countless people over the decades who work for Elon. They uniformly report they did their best work and were the most inspired working at SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, Boring. I've met countless people who've worked with him. I know him. It's an inspiring person. I've watched him work. He's an inspiring leader. He gets shit done. He's focused. He sets incredible goals. It's all about the work. Now, if you're on vacation and it's kind of like a dope gig where you're getting paid six figures to fuck off. Yeah, you probably should polish off your resume and go to Hoodle. What was what did they call it in Silicon Valley? What did they call Google?
Oh,
Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
I had a name for it. Hooli. Go hodl at Hooli. Go hodl your Bitcoin and your Doge at Hooli.
And show title.
Hodl at Hooli. That's a better place.
I mean,
Google appreciates people not doing work.
Yeah.
They love that. They love taking talent off the market and putting them on the roof and letting them rest invest. You're not going to rest invest at an Elon Musk owned Twitter. You're going to do your best work. If you're up for that, then do your best work. If you're not, highly recommend polishing off your resume and finding another cushy gig somewhere where you're not affected. And you know what? Personally,
that's how you are.
Personally, if I was running Twitter and we had that big, beautiful office, I would do year zero. This is if I was CEO. If magically somebody said, Jacob, You want to be CEO of Twitter? If somebody said that to me, like if I knew somebody at Twitter and they said, you know what, just like
I know you were thinking about semi-retirement, but here's a thought.
And they said, Jake Al, you know what? You understand Twitter. Why don't you run it?
Oh, God.
If somebody said that, I would come in and I'd say, guess what? It's year 0. We are going to have this office building filled, and this is going to be the locus of power, and this is going to be, you know, a 7-day-a-week operation. We are going to really crush it and make a big effort in the first year. If you want to be part of that, you know, I'm going to need you to show up. You know, some people might be remote. Of course, there might be some all-stars, but let's all go to this amazing, brilliant office again. And we're going to have an in-office culture until we get this thing really dialed in. It doesn't have to be 7 days a week. It can come in 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but we're going to start this process of really getting focused and setting some really tight goals. And here are the 4 goals that we're going to crush this year to show the world, you know, that we're serious about making change here. Boom. Not saying I would take the CEO job. Not saying anything.
Not saying
anything. Not saying anything. I'm not going to be the
not
CEO
a yes,
of Twitter.
not a no.
I mean, president, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, I'm not saying I would do it. I'm not, you know, I'm not saying I wouldn't be qualified.
There could be like a floor for lunch. Like they're not going to need all the employees, so there could be an extra floor.
We have a little area for lunch. You can put that in there. Put a little inside area. I'm not saying I can't multitask. Of course. I mean,
you're running 2 companies now.
Kinda, yeah, no problem. Easy peasy. All right, let's go to the next story. We're gonna wrap this up here. What time?
This
11:15. Let's keep going.
Is bonkers.
Bonkers in this. Hey, 345 people watching again. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the alerts, and give us a thumb up. We're at 125. What did we give away for the 100th person? Somebody had a good idea in the.
You were gonna give away that mug, the scary mug.
A Contigo. Somebody had a funny idea though. They had another idea for
Snacks
something
undies.
to give. I think maybe Zen Prophet had a funny idea for a giveaway for the 100th. That was like related to what we were talking about. I can't remember.
Sax underwear.
Oh, Sax underwear. Yes. Okay. So if you would like, you can choose, gentlemen, between a 3-pack of Sax underwear. We'll need your size, waist size, that is. And we will get that out to you.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying. I was just trying to be clear.
I get 10. I get 10 freebies for that. I get 10 free jokes for that.
You're the one who was.
We're putting him in timeout for a second. He's getting 10 seconds of timeout. Oh my God. Oh my God. He
woke up on one. He is on one today. I am dying. I'm literally blushing.
All right.
You know, if you cold brew for 24 hours, it really should be 18. But I may have left this brewing for 6 hours more. I might have a little too much caffeine.
Oh my God. You woke up on one, my friend.
Or you can have a 2-pack of Contigos, the large size, which is, by the way, just so you know, this large size still fits in your car cup holder.
Kid show.
It's a kid show. 18 inches. The Contigo. 18 ounces. And about a foot tall, actually. Stop.
I feel vindicated. I knew you thought that shit was funny.
I'm not trying to do any innuendos.
I was all
here.
shamed.
Just subscribe and comment. Turn on the bell. Hit the bell.
This is why you come to the live stream, folks.
Thumbs up.
Why?
The live stream is different than the actual show.
Shadow ban.
People are losing it. But what I will say is that this fits in the cup holder, Molly. So the girth on the Contigo is not so great that you can't fit it in a standard cup holder. Oh my God.
Well, this show just became the group chat. Like,
literally, I blame the YouTube chat because you're leading me down the path of making jokes.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Cinderella. Cinderella.
It's my fault.
Lady Business coming this Saturday to the This Week in Startups podcasting network. Lady Business, hosted by Molly and 3 ladies talking about the business from a lady's perspective.
We're just gonna talk
I
about.
cannot wait to produce lady business.
Oh my god,
it's gonna be so great.
You're hilarious. If you only knew what all the ladies.
I trust me, I get the back channel. I mean,
not
only am I getting the back channel, I'm not getting the front channel. I mean, Arlen's like, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Arlen, pump the brakes here. She's like, you've matured so much. I was like, you've matured so much. She's like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, as a podcaster, done great. I'm like literally getting into it.
And you can't say that back? Like, what?
Well, no, she's like, you've matured. I'm like, I'm 51. I mean, I think she's 40, so I don't know. Like, are we that different here, kid? Like, I think we both matured over the last decade. Like, please, I can be friends with Sachs. I know he's becoming a conspiracy lunatic, but like, okay.
Don't you want someone saying there to intervene?
I mean, what do you want me to do? I mean, he's like literally doing a panel with Matt Taibbi and Glenn Greenwald at the event.
Hey, Glenn Greenwald's back. Glenn Greenwald got the Bezos.
He got the Bezos retreat, and I'm like, okay, fine. I can appreciate Matt Taibbi. He's the great investigative reporter. Glenn Greenwald, I don't even understand Glenn Greenwald's position. He was like at the Intercept, and then he left the Intercept because they
didn't want to have like an editor.
I was like, Glenn's okay, but interesting. I don't mind hearing Glenn. I would love to have a conversation with Glenn. And then you know what Sachs is like? Sachs is like, I'm going to do that panel without you, Jake Allen. I'm like, fine.
Oh, well, so that is going to go great.
I'm like, okay, so David Sachs, Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi are going to do a panel together. Great. Okay. Do you not want me on that panel? I think I could contribute, but okay, I'll just do I'll do the questions from the audience work. That's fine. I'll run the microphone.
Press there, right?
There's no press.
No press.
Great.
No press.
No live stream, no press.
But we will be releasing all of them.
People's phones at the door.
No,
TBD.
I mean, we're just going to release them to our. Well, everything's going to get released to the feed, and then the press can take it from there. So we get the. I don't want. It's really more pragmatic. Number one, the thing's sold out. So every time I give a press a ticket, that's 7,500 big ones that we could have locked in. Number two,
delighted by this outcome.
I would like.
It's like a 30-second delay.
I would like, basically, yes. If somebody, it is like a 30-minute, it's like a 3-day delay.
It really is a 3-day delay.
It's a 3-day delay. But here's the thing. Why shouldn't we get the page views for our feed? And maybe if All In Podcast hits like the top 30, if we release 10 content segments for 10 days in a row, maybe we'll go to the top 20. Like, so why not? And then, so I just told all the press, my friends in the press were like, oh, press would add to the event. I'm like, will it? Because then you're going to do link baiting stories and you're going to front run the content. I'd rather just release it in real time to the feed. In fact, I would really like to have enough editorial power to edit it and release it, as soon as it's ready, not hold it. Like, if Monday's ready on Tuesday, if Tuesday's ready on Wednesday, I just want to go as fast as we can.
Like every one a day, I think would be the perfect cadence.
I kind of want to get it out because I think it would be more timely.
Really?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it off air, but to the extent we could have a team that maybe could help you, and we could maybe even get an extra person in there to clip it and get it ready. I would rather, and if it's just audio, that's fine. We could just do the audio and get it out there and just have the feed just bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, well, the good news is the venue is the audio is so good there that it should be almost ready to go out of the box.
Yes, and then video can come later.
Yeah,
that would I think be the best plan. Yeah, and I considered a live stream, Molly. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean the live stream we get 10,000 people watching live, but then I don't know.
I like a 30-minute to 1 hour delay. That seems wise.
I mean. Yeah. I mean,
well, it preserves exclusivity. Like a live stream is great, but
yes, I was trying to preserve a little exclusivity. All right, let's continue the show here. And by the way, we're at 154. So now that we're 154, I will give away a second giveaway of Contigo or Sachs to support you and keep you hydrated. There'll be two very important things, Molly.
Very important.
Be hydrated. And just have the support you need.
The support you need. Where you need it.
From the man who can support you. Sachs can support you. We are not seeing the hand gesture, thank God.
I saw it.
You saw it. So anyway, now that we're at 150, that means 2. And if we hit 200, then I send a $200 bottle on behalf of We Crashed. Lon's coming on the show Thursday. Shout out to @Lons. I'm going to send a Don Julio You got to prove your age. 1942 on behalf of Rivka and Adam Newman. Adam Newman. Okay, who's the crazier man? Okay.
Bye.
I give you this tequila. Rivka.
I think we should have a new
give
sponsor.
Me 200 votes up. That's what you should do. You should do one of those, the trade. You give me 200 votes up. I give you Don Julio.
I give you Don.
You get Don Julio Sachs Contigo and an Ember mug.
I give you two. I give you two Don Julio. More than the competition. More.
I love that scene when they're like, well, we doubled the amount of office space. The board's like, what? Oh, we signed the leases already. It's like, oh my God, the guy just like is a terrorist leaving the building with a bomb in it.
I might watch that series over again. Is how good
it is. Definitely going to be. Yeah, put that on your calendars for 5 years from now. They definitely have to do a part 2 or a follow up. I just want the whole .com universe to collide. I want the We Crashed and the Dropout. Universe. What's that?
The what?
The Tech Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
Tech Cinematic Universe. Yes, the TCU.
The TCU.
Yeah.
TCU. I could architect that. I could be the Kevin.
I was just gonna say Feige. We could do that.
Feige. I could be the Kevin Feige of the TCU. We just bring the whole TCU together. Boom. It'd be great. Yes. Somebody wanted to do, by the way, a fictional version, a take on the All In Pod, like an HBO show. That would be like a dramatic series of the 4 of us operating in Silicon Valley and then coming together to do the pod each week and then the drama in between episodes of the pod. I was like, by the way, thank you for creating.
Could you try again?
Siri, they want to create the most boring show in the history of television. What would it be?
Here's what I found.
Okay, Siri.
You guys want to do this Dr. NFT story?
I thought for sure that was going to be a sorry. Okay, fine. But also yes, though.
All right, 3, 2. What else is in the news, Molly?
Well, this news may surprise you. Let's pull up that headline again, because what happened is that TikTok famous doctors are getting into NFTs and it's a mess.
Oh, I'm sorry. There are doctors on TikTok.
Yeah. Look, there they are.
Want to do an NFT grift. Okay,
YouTube.com/this week.
So if I buy their NFT, I can go get plastic surgery with them. Is that where this is going?
So it's
Please tell me I didn't guess it. I don't know what this story is. This headline makes no sense to me.
This headline is absolutely baffling, nor does this business idea, basically. Okay. But they did create these NFTs of TikTok doctors. What they were supposed to do in the plainest English that our producers could come up with, the project was called Meta Doc, META Doc, And these NFTs were supposed to give owners access to the doctors involved in the project, like a Web3 concierge care.
Okay, yeah,
situation.
Concierge doctor. I got one of those. Yeah, sure.
Holders would receive heart tokens for every day that they own the NFT, and then the tokens could be used for 3 tiers of doctor experiences, ranging from DMs to Ask Me Anythings to teledoc appointments or video chats. And then, of course, if you have one, you also can get discounts on apparel, personal care items, medical tests, supplements, and more.
Okay, I'm there.
MetaDocs founder Dr. Sina Durabchi hopes it will evolve into a full-fledged virtual clinic in the so-called metaverse, where patients can put on a haptic suit and be examined remotely by a physician in virtual reality. Like, I have to be honest, I don't hate that, right?
So it's a grift.
Disrupt doctors. This is like less a grift and more illegal. Kind of.
Well, okay.
From the treatment perspective, because
there are rules around telemedicine.
Like a lot of rules around doctors and how they can operate and where they can operate. They have to be licensed in each individual state in which they're going to operate.
Sure.
This is not a licensed telemedicine service, so doctors actually cannot legally use it to treat patients. Okay. If you've ever done an online appointment, actually doctors always call, like the teledocs call to ask where you're calling in before the doctor can come on. Doctors are then being removed from the project because they either didn't agree to participate, didn't feel comfortable with telling people they could treat them via NFT when they can't, or because they have not completed their residency. In one case, a doctor had to be removed from the project after he left his hospital position, so was actually no longer employed as a doctor.
All right. So there are regulations in place for a reason. And as we've discussed with Theranos, over and over again, there are places where you can, move fast and break things. Please, medicine, don't do it there. You just have a higher duty and authority there. So I do like the idea of the NFTs for the fish frying club that we had on the pod, Gary Vaynerchuk's thing, or Soho House, or we're investors in one for music festivals. And so I do think the NFT as a membership club, After Party, by the way, is the name of the one we invested in. I'm not trying to promote them or anything, but I thought it was an interesting project run by people I know, and they're credible. We'll have them on the pod at some point. And we paid $10,000 for our 2 NFTs, and we invested in the company. The 2 $10,000 NFTs gives us 4 tickets every time they do one of these events. So we have 8 tickets. I was going to give them to the producers, but nobody wanted to go to Vegas for it, or they couldn't because I'm working them too hard. But theoretically, we could. It's kind of like buying Coachella tickets. So imagine you wanted to start a music festival. Instead of trying to raise money, you just make a club and you're like, hey, 1,000 people spend $10,000 on these. We have $10 million. Now we can produce music festival for the next 10 years and spend $1 million on each. And then we could also sell additional tickets or let you resell, or your 1,000 VIP passes that get you backstage or to the backstage area, whatever. There could be a backstage and another backstage. It's just a really cool idea. But doing this for doctors, there's too many moving parts. You would have to really be thoughtful about this. If you had 10 doctors who said, we're selling these to California residents, and it includes an onboarding, and you get 10 hours of telemedicine a year for the next 10 years, you really want to define this and think it through. So just be thoughtful. I mean, that's all. It's just about being thoughtful about these things. Music festival is a different level of, or fried fish is different than this.
NFTs and its fly fishing club.
Yeah, fried fish.
Not
fish
fried
and chips. I hear it's all my dyslexia.
Which is awesome.
I love fried fish.
I'd be down for a fish and chips club. Yeah, I mean, the idea of NFTs as access plus badge, great. Fine. You're a season ticket holder. You get some perks, and you have an asset, a digital asset that serves as your badge of membership and honor and art. Cool. Love it. Don't even hate the idea of trying to apply that model to concierge care necessarily. But if people could die, and there are a bunch of laws around how to do this, I mean, it's just like, you know what? This is not ready.
It's not ready.
This area is not ready.
Well, then also, are the NFTs appreciating in value, and then based on what? So, when you have a music festival, it's pretty obvious what you would base the valuation of these tickets. Who's performing? How much what's the market for them? Is there market demand? So if you did, and this turned into, Coachella, over time, you could see people being like, a backstage pass at Coachella was $1,000. A lifetime backstage pass is worth $10,000 now. It could be worth $100,000 down the road, right?
Yeah.
As it gets bigger and bigger names play at it. Here, would it double in value because the doctor became more sought after? I don't know. It just seems weird. Whereas like a popular club like Soho House or Fly Fishing Club, the Fried Fly Fishing Club, Fly Guy Fishing, whatever it's called, would be.
I'm starting a competitor called Fly Guy Fishing.
I actually want to start one for poker. I've always wanted to start a private club for playing games like poker and backgammon. Fly Fish Club. I apologize. I'm making fun, but I do think that was sincerely a brilliant idea. So I would like to start a poker club, and I would have my own poker NFT grift. So if there's somebody out there who's passionate about poker and isn't too degenerate and can actually work, I would hire you to do this for me. Basically, I could sell 1,000 of these. I would sell them for $5,000, maybe $10,000 each. And then it would include, that would be $10 million bucks. And we would create a location, which would be a private club where members could play cards in the Bay Area, and then maybe a second one somewhere else. And then we would have pop-up poker games, at events around the world. Yeah. Okay. That's a good name, Nick. Don't say it on air.
Oh,
but, keep workshopping that name.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. That's good.
I think that would work. Hey, people, notice in here.
I think NFTs as membership And then
Brilliant.
NFTs as pure sort of artistic expression. A friend literally sold me on the NFT game on Easter Sunday. We were having brunch and she was talking about, and this is not a person who's like super techie, you know, she's sort of like, I don't really understand all this, but she's an artist and really made the case and is doing a super cool NFT project that I literally cannot wait to see and even buy. Like, I was like, I love this. I love what you're creating. It's beautiful. And it has this really meaningful aspect to it. But she was saying that what's so great about it for artists and for all these communities is that it is like, it's like when you could just create a blog and have all the expression you wanted on the internet. She's like, it's like the internet is fun again because there's things you can do as an artist with NFTs, with metadata and instant creation where you can create layers. And then, you know, if people put in certain attributes, it'll create a million versions of that. And they're all beautiful and they're super customized to you. She's like, it just as a playground is delightful. And I was like, well, hell, now I like it.
It's the thing that's beautiful about crypto is this idea that you're empowering people to participate in a more meaningful way in the creation of organizations. That's a very cool idea.
Yeah.
Now there's layers of grift on top of it and unprofessionalism and stupidity, you know, but the ownership nature of it is what we do with cap tables in technology all the time. So the more people can do that, the more I'm all in on it. I love the idea of more participation. Now, your ownership is really a membership. So keep that in mind. You don't own equity in the thing because we have securities law. And we talked to Brian Armstrong about that on the last All In, that like there needs to be a framework for projects. And I did the safe harbor one. I think my idea is the best because I've really thought about and talked to a lot of people, which is there should be a tiered safe harbor. So any project under $10 million and under $10,000 maximum investment should be safe harbored. What that means is you can do whatever project you want. You just have to have one person's name. It has to be incorporated. You need to have some basic insurance or something, whatever, just like a basic amount. But you don't have to worry about accreditation or whatever because the max damage you could do is 10,000 and somebody's in charge of it and it's incorporated in Delaware or somewhere in the United States, right?
Okay.
Now it's between 10 and 100 million. You need to have a board of directors. And you need to have KYC and know your customer. Thank you. And you can do anybody with $10,000 max investment is fine. Anybody above 10,000 has to be accredited. So now, so somebody who's a truck driver or a teacher could get swindled, but the max they could get swindled out of is $10,000. It's not going to destroy their life forever. It's a hole you could dig yourself out of.
Don't be playing. Right.
And if it is, you shouldn't be playing because like people do take $10,000 who are truck drivers or teachers and go to Vegas and blow it. Like this happens every day in Vegas. So you're basically saying like, we'll put a cap on it. And then anybody who's running those things is like, great. So if that person does choose to sue me for whatever reason, the max damages is 10. The average investment at the syndicate.com, and this is of accredited investors, is about $7,000. What I love about this in terms of my exposure as the person running the syndicate and you as well, and listen, we have insurance and these are accredited investors. They know what they're doing. There has never been a lawsuit over syndicates. Like there's been zero. I know of one instance where somebody threatened and it was on one of the platforms and it like there was no case to be had. So it was just went away. But what's the damage? If the average is $7,000, if somebody really felt like they were damaged in some way, what is the legal? You're going to spend $500,000 suing somebody for $7,000? It's just like you would just suck it up and like take the loss. Just like somebody who played in a rigged poker game and lost $7,000 might just suck it up and take the loss. So that's really what has to happen with crypto. I also think with private company investing, just cap the amount that people can lose, and then they still get to participate. But there's a cap. That's all. It's very simple. And there's no caps in Vegas, by the way. You can go there and mortgage your whole house and show up and blow it playing roulette in an hour. Yeah, one spin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, yes. No NFTs for healthcare. Not yet. Not ready for that.
No NFTs for healthcare.
What do we think? You want to do one more?
We have a startup of the day?
We have a startup of the day.
All right, let's see.
I believe. Although,
and do we have a We Live in the Future?
We have a We Live in the Future, which is
I don't see
amazing.
Wait, where is it? I don't see it. Hold on. Future. I'm
So
doing
as we live in the
future.
future.
IDEO. That's like when I already had them on the show.
Yeah, a while ago, their product has definitely improved. And Vice wrote an interesting article about them actively pursuing police, or like that's one of the use cases.
All right, great. Let's do it.
So there's definitely some things to discuss. There's
That's
3 sections to it. It's like
right.
the cool home shots, the following, but.
And I don't want to skip this.
Oh, you know what? No, we should do the UK
Let's do
based Hopin.
Yeah,
this is an incredible startup
story. That's a great story.
3, 2. All right. One of the things that happened during the pandemic was virtual events. And one of the companies, perhaps the leading one, was a UK-based platform called Hopin, Hopin. I know about this. I was able, we considered using it for the events over at inside.com when we started doing virtual events. And here at launch, we have remote demo day. I looked at all these platforms. They were very expensive. If you're doing a free event, probably not a great thing for you to use because they would charge you $50,000 a year or, per person. And so we went with Zoom plus, Slack, free, basically close to free solution. That is flat rate for the year.
Yep.
Anyway, Hopin was very interesting product and service, but they got an incredible valuation. Just look at this valuation.
And incredible amounts of incredible literal dollars too. Like their Series A, they got up to $7.8 billion.
But look at the ramp up here. This shows VCs have lost their mind.
And apparently, again, thought the pandemic would never end. This will be the status quo forever. So they put in $40 million in June of 2020. That's a Series A.
June 2020.
At a $244 million
$250 million.
Okay. By December, the Series B was $230 million at a $1.5 billion valuation.
6 months later, the valuation went 5x. No, then, 6x.
6x. Then you get to March.
Okay, March.
And you got a Series C.
Of the next year. So
of the next year.
January,
but just
February,
still a few months later.
4 months later. Okay, how much did it go up?
$414 million raised at a $5.8 billion valuation. Valuation goes up $4 billion in 4 months. $1 billion a month. They're doing great.
It went up $1 billion a month. Okay. That's
at
insane.
This point, by the way, A16 is in. They're like FOMO galore.
So
like, where were
what we're saying is the company was a $250 million company in June, and then less than a year later, 9 months later, it was worth $6 billion almost.
Yeah.
So that would be 22 or 23x in 9 months. Okay, that defies gravity. There's no way that actually makes any sense. But okay, let's continue because it didn't end.
Going. July of 2021, they raised the Series D, which is $460 million at an $8 billion valuation led by Altimeter and Arena Holdings. So March, April, May, June, July, 4 more months, they go up another $2.2 billion.
All right. So
growth is slowing at this point. I mean, the valuation's only going up $500 million a month.
We would need to know the revenue of this company to really make a judgment call here. But to be worth $8 billion, I would expect, let's see.
You guess because I know the answer.
Oh, you do know the answer. Okay.
It's in our notes, but
okay.
Don't
peek, the actual revenue. I'm not peeking. So, okay, I will tell you what reality would be. Okay, in an absurdly hot market, 100 times top line revenue would be 8 million would be 800 million. So 80 million would be 8 billion. That would be an absurd peak market. So 80 million would equal that. Now, if it was 50x, you'd have to have 40 million 160 million. Yeah, let me just do the quick back of the envelope math here. 160, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 8 billion, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 divided by that. Yeah, that's 50 times. Yeah. So 160 million would be 50 times top line. That's what I would put it at.
So you think the revenue should be at
160 million a year
to get there? Well, according to a Financial Times source, Hopin generated over $100 million in ARR in 2021, but 30 million or so came from their acquisition of StreamYard, which is a streaming service like Restream. So so really what it comes down to is likely closer to $70 million ARR
Okay. So it was trading at 100 times, which was crazy peak valuation. Makes no sense.
Yep.
And then the question is, are any of those customers who make up that 70 million in revenue? So this obviously had pretty fast revenue. Are any of those customers sticking around post-pandemic? And I think some will, because online events, I think, are not going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing here, so anyway, this is absurd peak market, but it was probably growing at such a fast clip. The crazy thing here, according to the FT research, Hopin CEO Johnny Buffarat cashed out $195 million in secondary, securing the bag in a 2-year-old company. This is a fast revenue growth for a company of this size, just so we're clear. So as crazy as this one seems, it's probably 2x as crazy as it should be, but it's not crazy.
Unheard of. I mean, they were making money and the revenue was growing really quickly.
Yes.
However, now you are in a scenario where the CEO sold almost $200 million of his own shares. And as of 2 days ago on the Financial Times, there were sub 500 events listed on the platform, representing a 97% decrease.
Okay.
In the number of events listed on Hopin. The company in February laid off about 12% of its staff.
Sounds wise.
And they say they have plenty of runway.
Yeah, I would think so.
Which I would imagine.
Now the question is, can they ever get back up to this valuation? Because now the company would be worth 30 times revenue. So in order to be worth 8 billion, 20 times, they're probably going to get to 300, 400, 500 million in revenue to build into that valuation again. If they had 500 million in revenue, would they be worth 8 billion as a public company? Maybe they would need to have more. So I think that's going to be the question. And then also, how profitable is the company? Does this have an 80% margin, a 50% margin? I don't know the total number of employees. If I did, I might be able to give you back into their cost structure. So how many employees got laid off? 138 would be 12%. Mm-hmm. So if you times that by 8, approximately, you would get the number of employees. So if we were to do back of the envelope math, 138 times 8 would be 1,100 employees. 1,100 employees times an average employee cost of 100 and put at 100,000. Who knows what level of employee they have? They are spending $110 million a year, so they might even be getting close to break even. Mm-hmm. So laying off 10% of the staff, that 12% of the staff would actually get them probably, who knows what they're spending on servers and marketing as well. So they might be actually within spitting distance of being break even.
It could be.
And this is why math is important. Because when I saw Altimeter on there, I'm good friends with Brad Gerstner. He tends to be very smart and considered. Mm-hmm. And so that would be my signal to maybe, when he did that $8 billion valuations, to think, is this insanity like Clubhouse? Because Clubhouse was $4 billion with no revenue. Okay, well, here's a SaaS company.
Right.
And this is why SaaS companies are a safer bet, because there's actual revenue and it's reoccurring. So even if they lost, like for a SaaS company to lose 30% of its revenue year over year would be unheard of. It would have to really be some crazy situation, like the pandemic ending, or like a competitor giving the product away for free. But even then, you would have to, people would have to take the time to cancel a 40K. I think they're probably the average customer. I don't know. I'm guessing here because I know that we quoted out all of these Airmeet, Hopin. We looked at all of them and they were way too expensive. They were quoting us like 50 grand, 100 grand a year to have like, up to 3,000 people on our events or whatever. And there was just too much usage charges to make it worth it. So I think there's a model here for somebody to do a flat rate and just undercut all these folks because you could build this with open source chat and this is the easiest software in the world to make. You just take Zoom. I think Zoom will own this business eventually. God bless you. If you did sneeze. Zoom.
And I don't know why Zoom, I did. Thank you. I don't know why Zoom doesn't already.
I think Zoom is kind of dancing around this. They have the webinars, which is what we pay for. And I think the webinar product, we can have a couple of thousand people and it costs us like $1,000 a year or something. It's really affordable. But what you don't have is multiple stages and a calendar around it with an area for networking and an area for trade shows. And so I really would love to see somebody make a more affordable version of this. I actually consider just rolling our own, which I do see some people are doing, and building wrappers around it. But somebody tell me what the Zoom says. I can't see it. When you pull up these things,
Zoom events and webinar, $690 a year for up to 500 attendees. And then with an events platform, $890 a year.
Yeah. So I think this will be Zoom's business. So if Zoom could make it so when you show up for the event, Molly, you have, here are the tracks, and then here's a chat room for each talk.
Yep.
And then here's a trade show area. That's really what you need, is the trade show area.
Love hybrid events, right? Keep doing hybrid events. I think we
have one, meetourfund.com, which we're doing a third one of, where funds pitch founders, and we had like 10,000 people. I know, maybe 8,000 people signed up for it. And then a lot of people watch the videos after, but you get hundreds of people watching it. I really would like to have more networking space for the sponsors and stuff like that. So I was looking for a solution, but yes, hybrid is the way to go. And I want to do it. Meet Our Fund 4 will be live and virtual.
Love it. I love that. And honestly, as an environmental play, like not everybody needs to fly everywhere. So if you give hybrid events, and then you can create like an offset program for the people who don't come, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of potential there. 2 prices. It makes a lot of sense. And it does seem like in this case, the valuation was bonkers. It seems to have now, at least according to the secondary sales, according to the Financial Times in February, the Hopin shares fell 41% on a secondary marketplace. And from their most recent valuation, that would be a $3.3 billion reduction, which doesn't seem unreasonable.
I think that's exactly what we just did, back of the envelope.
Right, exactly.
It's like cut it in half.
Came up with the same thing, cut it in half. Perfect.
Here's the good news. The founder knows what he's doing, apparently. He made the cuts. He didn't need to. And he's going to have to just put his head down for 2 years and build into the valuation. He probably can. I think the issue he's going to have,
now that he's sitting on 200 million.
Well, personally, the reason I don't like the $200 million payout for him is he going to come to work for the next 2 years? You have to wonder.
Yeah.
Or is he going to hand it off to somebody? I would say a good rule of thumb is, hey, maybe the founders can cash out up to 25% of the current revenue of the company. Company's at 100 million, you could cash out 25.
Yeah.
And then also the other employees who've been there for over 2 years. Now, this is a 2-year-old company, so there's nothing to do it. But, listen, the people who are doing these deals, they went in, they're very sophisticated investors. There's nobody more sophisticated than Altimeter. Shout out Brad Gerstner. So if Brad was involved in that secondary sale, whatever, maybe they did that to win the deal. Maybe it was a hot competitive deal. And I don't like those payoffs. When they do it, I'll ask Brad next time I see him what the story is, and I'll report back. But, it was a hot moment in time. It was a hot deal, apparently. And so people would sometimes, basically, the most cynical way to look at it is bribe the founder to take their deal. And the more charitable way to look at it is they got to buy more shares in a company they like, and the founder got to benefit from his or her creation. And the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I don't like tying financings to secondaries. I think that should be split as a best hygiene practice. Because imagine you're an investor in the company at the $250 million round. Now the company has an offer. One offers for $8 billion, one's for $9 billion. The one with $8 billion comes with $200 million for the founder. The one with $9 billion doesn't. Or there's an offer that has more controls, better governance. Well, now the founder is going to pick, because of the God King and God Queen nature of how companies are run now, they're going to pick what's in their best interest or all shareholders' best interest. And so where does that leave the employees? Should the employees be able to cash out too?
Yeah.
And so these things are fraught with governance issues and incentive issues. And I think people have to be thoughtful about it, but it's a free market. So deal with it. I have to deal with it all the time. It's a free market out there, and I deal with it all the time. And I have conversations with founders. Usually my conversation with founders, if I'm being honest, is, are you taking any chips off the table? And I've had many founders say, no, I want to buy more. And I'm like, do you own your home? And they're like, no, I rent. And I'm like, are you independently wealthy with a trust fund? No, my parents weren't rich. My dad was, a lawyer. My mom was a nurse. No, I'm not. And I'm like, okay, perhaps you own $100 million in shares in this company. You own 30% of it. It's worth $300 million. What do we think about you selling $5 million, $4 million? You pay your taxes and you put a down payment on a house or you buy a house if you're in Austin, or you put a down payment on a house if you're in the Bay Area.
Austin is not that cheap, first of all, but second,
well, you could buy $1 million. Trust me, I've been looking every day.
Well, this is what you said in the book, right? There's like you let them sell. There's an amount that's sort of comfort money.
Yes,
and then there's
take
an
the
amount
edge
that's
off money.
FU money.
Yeah. When you get to that, this is beyond FU money. This is
this
FU.
Is like
I'm going to
everything.
go. Yeah,
this is I'm gonna buy Twitter money. Just kidding.
Well, I was about to say this is I'm going to go buy a restaurant, a hotel, and an airplane money. Yeah. And I've seen this happen. Like I've seen founders go buy it, spend like literally 3 months picking their plane, 2 months picking their house in Kauai, 3 months going into some stupid restaurant venture, and then all of a sudden their phone's ringing because their pilots want to raise, the plane went on fire in the fucking hangar, the chef quit, there's a lawsuit with their land because the neighbors, they're building too much, and all of a sudden founder distraction.
Yeah.
Trust me, I just bought my first second home, and like,
it's a little much work.
I mean, literally,
it's
everything that you dialed in at your primary home, your internet, your TVs, your insurance, water, whatever, it just all happens a second time, and you're a homeowner. You understand what you have to go through with your current home.
Nightmare. God.
It's like double the nightmare. Now I know people who've done this who've got triple the nightmare. All right, listen, this has been a great episode. Congratulations to the Hopin founder investors. I think you have a real business. Don't worry about the reduction in value of your company. Just put your head down and build the world's greatest product. And for competitors, you could build a competing product to this. And the roadmap is,
cheaper,
make
flat rate.
Flat rate, because I need a flat rate solution. So selfishly, if somebody could build me a flat rate solution for $1,000 a year that let me run my conferences on it, I would do it. Or if somebody wants to give me a 5-year deal for a flat rate on one of these AirMeet or Hopin for a really cheap price, I'll do a barter with you for some ads on the show.
I'm so glad we did this story, by the way, because I'm just so glad we did this story and we're able to unpack the narrative with math, because that was, I think, really valuable. Well, really valuable to look at these stories and be like,
to do right now, Molly, because you're on the other side of the table and you see the insides of these businesses. You know how this stuff works now in month 4. You've, basically in 4 months, you've got 60% of the knowledge of investing, and then it's basically going to be.
I'm just working on the math now.
Well, I mean, I think there's a quick like any other skill. Like if you want to learn podcasting, you could probably learn 60, 70% in your first year. And then to get the last 30%, it's like you're going to learn whatever, 10% the next year, whatever, 20% the next year, and then 5% the year after that. And then it's just harder to get those last, how to hit a half court shot, how to be elite.
It's like the Bugatti. It takes like 100 horsepower or something to get to 200 to 100 or 150. And then it takes all the rest of the horsepower to get from 100 to 200.
Yes.
Or some crazy thing like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's more effort to get the last little things. All right, everybody. It's been an amazing episode. Here's some things you can do to support the show. Go to youtube.com/thisweekend, hit subscribe, hit the bell, ring the bell, and then you get to join us every day here. Number 2, you can write a review of the show, rate it on Spotify or iTunes. Number 3, you can thank the sponsors. You can CC at Molly Wood, at Jason. When you do that, or you can just go visit their URLs and use their products and support them for supporting us. And if you really want to go next level, producers at thisweekinstartups.com. We live in the future segment where we talk about things that are crazy and new in the world, or startup of the day. Just tip us off. And then if you hear somebody on another podcast, like, there's a lot of boutique podcasts out there, and you hear somebody who's a great guest, always on the lookout for somebody who is really intelligent, really well-spoken. A lot of the great folks in the industry today started here on this program. Travis, Saka, Chamath, Keith Raboy, Glenn from Redfin. A lot of them started here on This Week in Startups 10 years ago, 7 years ago. We had them on a couple of times, and then they became just great podcasters themselves, like Chamath, or regulars on other people's podcasts like Raboy. And they were less known at that time, or totally unknown in some cases. And so we like to discover those people and then have them on a regular basis. We like to build those characters, if you will, and those personalities. So if you find somebody like that, please do send them our way. Anything else you can do to support the show, Molly?
Keep coming out. Keep coming out. Leave us those reviews on iTunes. Help juice those ratings. That helps. But really, just keep talking to us. It's the best. Like we sit, we watch the chat every day, and it basically is like hanging out with our friends, and that's the best part of this job.
It is the best part of the show. Is the Noti Gang, 10 a.m. most days Pacific time. Well, sometimes we can get interrupted by breaking news or whatever, but that's why you hit the bell, you ring the bell.
Exactly, because then when we have to go live because Elon again, like we did yesterday.
And tomorrow we'll play everybody's favorite game show. What should Elon buy next? I just came up with that idea.
Oh my God.
What should Elon and Jeff Bezos buy next on tomorrow's show? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks, producers. Great job, producers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye.
Bye-bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. Okay, upload your audio.
No. Intros.
God, I gotta go.
Bottom and top.
We were almost right on time.
Here we go. Where's the intro? Okay, 3, 2. Okay, everybody. We have a great show for a Tuesday for you.
We do. We were all waiting to see what Jack Dorsey was going to have to say about Twitter's sale to Elon Musk, and he had some after dark thoughts, and we break them down.
We love Jack after dark. And then we're going to talk about the range of emotions from Twitter employees.
Yeah. And, some users as well. Then finally, we're going to change the topic, talk about an NFT project where what could go wrong? Doctor influencers on TikTok are selling access to medical advice. We live in the nightmare.
Okay. And finally, there was a Financial Times story about Hopin's fundraising. This is a company that went from $250 million valuation up to $8 billion in under 2 years. The founder sold almost $200 million in shares in secondary. And is this company as bad as the Financial Times is making it out to be? They did a layoff. We actually do the math, and the answer might in fact surprise you about Hopin.
You are going to want to stay tuned and stay tuned all week because there are some big earnings calls coming up this week. We got Google and Microsoft later today as we're taping this, Meta and Spotify on Wednesday, Apple and Amazon on Thursday. It's going to be a great week. It's going to be a great show.
So stick with us. Stick with us for the whole week.
Stick with us.
Don't go anywhere. With us. Don't go anywhere.
Don't touch that dial.
Don't touch that dial. Okay, here we go.
All right. Ending stream.